Hello, my Nakamatachi, this is Joy Girl, and we are back with another Fire One Piece chapter after a break last week. But before we get into everything that happened in this chapter, let's first congratulate the winners of our Joyfleet Discord artwork competition. And the theme this week was set by Mr. Morge, who came aboard for the last Let's Talk Wano episode, and Mr. Morge requested for a Kaido defeating Luffy artwork. Clearly no agendas there. But these are our wonderful winners and their artworks. We have Libra's quite graphic drawing of the raid failing, and it seems we've entered the darkest timeline of One Piece. Luffy's missing limbs, Zoro is missing his head, and me, I'm missing our brighter days. Candy VO2's drawing has a very hedonistic atmosphere, with everyone circling Kaido and the defeated Luffy. Big Mom, true to character, is terrifying, and I really think she wants to eat poor Luffy. In joint second place, we have Alvi and Wacom. Alvi is coming in with their own very creative take on Mr. Morge's theme, because you cannot deny that Kaido has defeated Luffy. And this one really brings a smile to my face, and I love the extra detail of Momo carrying Yamato in the background. Wacom has also interpreted Mr. Morge's request differently, and has essentially shown what they think about his agenda. Because Luffy is nowhere to be seen, but I think Mr. Morge may be in a bit of trouble. And I have to say thank you for including yours truly in here too. And retaining their first place position is Pukiaki. The amount of detail in this drawing is quite spectacular, and I'm sure everyone's favorite part is seeing our very own Jinbei-fied Mr. Morge. Although I think it's more accurate that if Mr. Morge was in here witnessing everything unfold, maybe he'd just let Luffy get defeated by Kaido. I mean, the raid must fail, right? Congratulations and a big thank you to all of our winners and to all of our participants. And if you'd like to participate in the next round of our Joyfleet artwork competition, make sure to join our Joyfleet Discord server and make sure to stick around until the end of this video to check out everyone else's submissions. But for now, let's get on with the review. I want to start with Momonosuke because I'm very satisfied with the brief interaction between Momo and Kaido. For one, I really enjoyed the continued development of Momo's character in this chapter. I like the acknowledgement that Momo becoming a bigger, mature dragon doesn't necessarily make him equal in strength to Kaido. And simultaneously, his young mind is also on display. We are still witnessing a journey of maturity very clearly. Whilst Momo's body has matured, his mind, which also affects his ability to harness his strength and abilities, now has to catch up. It was clear that Momo lacks the ability and experience that Kaido has. He's unable to move as smoothly and also unable to produce bolo breath. Momo's attack is a bite, which is fitting considering that he is still an inexperienced 8-year-old at heart. This was effectively complemented by the quick mini flashback with Momo thinking of what Kaido has done to his family and amassing the courage and using that mental anguish to really put his back into biting Kaido, which was really gratifying to see. True to One Piece, it's not the type of dragon fight that I was expecting, but I love it nonetheless. And that half a page panel focusing on Momo reducing Kaido to that anguish state, even though it was only very brief and didn't actually result in any lasting damage, was still perfect. I mean, I enjoy a dragon versus dragon fight, but the idea of Momo lasting long against Kaido never should have been given that much thought. So I like that Momonosuke served his purpose, turned into a big dragon, and showcased to us that he's a lot more capable now than before. This meant that it gave Momo some character highlights and a bit of an action moment, but not at the expense of our perception of Kaido. Oda has really been perfectly balancing this each chapter to give the good guys some focus, but simultaneously showcase Kaido's overwhelming strength. But in Momo's case, this segment against Kaido has done what it needed to do for his character. It was never about Momo defeating Kaido, but facing him was a necessary part of Momo's growth. And now that Momo has had his moment against Kaido and overcome his fears, it means that he can swiftly move on to the actual task, which is what was set up for his character, to stop Onigashima from falling. And we were reminded of how important this task is through the opening of this chapter, where we saw the Wano citizens celebrating the fire festivals and the ominous panels of a looming Onigashima. The next big task close to defeating Kaido is to stop Onigashima from dropping. The way that the island was drawn, it's almost as if it's the second big antagonist of this arc. And Momo is really the most logical figure to be able to stop the island from destroying the flower capital, because I can't think of any other character who can stop it from falling. Yes, Caribou can absorb it, but mitigating the impact of it actually dropping? Who else? This is a task that only Momo can do. Luffy beating Kaido won't mean anything if Momo isn't able to stop Onigashima, and vice versa. So we now essentially have a 2-on-2 battle with two main heroes now in Luffy and Momonosuke against the respective villains of Kaido and a falling Onigashima. What I'm really interested in now that the sky is clearer is what route Oda will take with this. Whether he will use the clear sky to show the floating Onigashima to the citizens to scare them off and then have Momo stop Onigashima falling in front of them, and this could result in everyone seeing that Momonosuke is the hero who saved them, changing their perception of dragons from a terror to a savior. Or will Oda keep the citizens unaware of everything that is going on and let them enjoy everything in peace for one whole night since they've been suffering for all of these years and have Momo's act of heroism unseen? But we're getting ahead of ourselves by discussing the clear sky, so on that note, let's move on to Luffy. Wow. This chapter is monumental. Luffy has reached another tier, and I love the way that we were built up for this moment. Oda beautifully gave us another build-up of a clash similar to what we got with Kaido versus Yamato in chapter 1024, but this time it's Luffy versus Kaido, and the clash ended in one of the most monumental scenes in the manga. With the focus on the dark, thick clouds throughout the chapter, the individual focus given to Kaido and Luffy to really amp up the movement of the two coming at each other, and then that glorious double spread confirming Luffy has now reached the Sky Splitter status. When I was reading the chapter, I was struck by that first double spread of the allies cheering Luffy down below, because as much as I love that panel, it is notable that the panels of Kaido and Luffy coming at each other for their ultimate clash are noticeably smaller. But then this all makes sense in the next page, where the great double spread is dedicated to this massive moment of the impact of their clash. Again, just glorious. And the way that this one moment has been tied to so many things in the chapter to really increase the importance of this moment is nothing short of spectacular. By Luffy reaching this Sky Splitter tier, it also results in the clouds opening up to show the full moon again, symbolically giving light, as in the new dawn, to those beneath it. Throughout the chapter, it was clear that darker times were upon us, with the ominously floating Onigashima and the blissfully unaware Wano citizens being shrouded by the clouds, but Luffy reaching that level is clearing the skies to bring about new light for Wano, symbolizing the new hope for the end of Kaido's reign of terror. Whilst Luffy has been showcasing that he's continuously learning and increasing his strength throughout the battle, in this chapter he's also showing that in addition to his continued growth, he is now on equal terms with the Yonko, having gained this level. And of course this moment also resulted in quite the literal light being shone, and whilst I'll get to the Inuarashi and Nekomamushi segment in a bit, this moment of Luffy unknowingly assisting the Mink Dukes also said so much about Luffy's character. Not only does it add to Luffy bolstering the strength of others, as we also saw him do with Momonosuke earlier, it also led to his indirect defeat of the third ranking officer from the antagonist side in Jack. We know Luffy usually gets a warm-up fight prior to defeating the main villain, and from what we've seen in the past, it usually comes in the form of the third highest ranking officer of the enemy's group. And we often see this to showcase Luffy's development and level of strength, which is why many of us were expecting to see Luffy fight Jack at Wano, but this chapter still achieved the feat of showing Luffy's development, but in very different and layered ways. Luffy reaching the level of being able to split the skies is a massive feat on its own, but this simultaneously saw Luffy indirectly having a hand in Jack's defeat. The difference between beating or losing to the third strongest officer came down to Luffy in this chapter. Luffy being able to reach Sky Splitter level allowed his clash with Kaido to affect and change the tide of this battle, and simultaneously it also symbolically showed us that Luffy no longer has the time or need for that fight. As Luffy splits the skies, it's like Luffy saying farewell to the idea of needing to beat the third highest ranking officer of an arc to showcase his strength and abilities. Luffy has reached a tier where he doesn't need to be tested or prove his development, and this was beautifully done by Oda. In addition, this clash resulted in the Mary, who had been being used to broadcast much of the battle, to pass out. And I really enjoyed the use of the Mary in this chapter as well. It felt like an announcer calling out a wrestling match on the radio to keep everyone informed of what's happening. But then passing out because of the clash added even further dramatic effect. After Luffy says that he will defeat Kaido, and then for communications to get cut off at that moment, it's now up to the Alliance to trust in Luffy's words without getting a constant update that he will win. Of course, the Mary also gave us a chance to see everyone's responses down below on Onigashima, and I can't stress stress how much I loved seeing the double spread of the allies cheering. You can feel the roar of the crowd. Something that could be lost in this chapter amidst all the big moments is Kid, who is also cheering for Luffy in his own way. His dialogue that Luffy better beat Kaido actually has a lot of meaning behind it when you consider that this is Kid entrusting Kaido to Luffy after giving up the chance to fight Kaido himself, which is something that the two Supernova captains have been fighting over since much earlier in the Wano arc. Seeing this really makes me even more confident that Kid will do well against Big Mom. And this isn't the only small but significant panel, because in fact this chapter was full of those moments. Even as simple as seeing Zoro and Sanji fight back to back gave me more pleasure than I know how to express. Seeing the two having each other's backs and in a rare moment not bickering, it's a small panel but not one that gets missed by me. Even Frankie getting a small but dedicated panel made me so giddy. And Yamato didn't get a great focus in this chapter, but I did love Yamato's reaction, looking like a proud parent witnessing Momonosuke. And of course the focus on Inuarashi and Nekomamushi. I think all of these scenes with the two were beautifully done. Whilst I'm not a fan of off-screening the majority of these fights, I do love everything that involved these two in this chapter. The way the scenes cut in with the rest of the chapter to give us updates on what was happening on their front, and the energy was just so electric. All the side-by-side panels and all the symmetry in their segment was just such a fantastic choice by Oda. He really played into highlighting Inu and Neko equally and adding to the dramatic impact of seeing the two battles unfold simultaneously side by side. And with everything going on, Oda keeps building us up for developments to continue unfolding. The reveal that Orochi survived, which I don't imagine came as a surprise for anyone, and this is something that I do want to mention in the context of confirmed defeats through the narration, which is something that we obviously saw for Jack in this chapter and for the Tobiroppo previously. Not only did we not see this for Orochi all those chapters ago, it does lead me to think that the Tobiroppo and Jack are now definitively down, and this is how we will feel the gravitas of Kaido's ultimate defeat, with an air of finality as it gets confirmed by way of that narration box. But the biggest question seeing Orochi raise for me is whether we will finally go back to the mystery figure of chapter 1004. With all of the action and developments going on in the battle at the moment, it's easy to forget that there are still so many unresolved threads, and it really does feel like everything is soon coming to a point. And I, for one, cannot wait to witness it all. Let me know what you think by leaving a comment below. Don't forget to like and share the video, and please do subscribe for more One Piece content. You can also join our Joyfleet Discord server like all of these wonderful people who submitted their artworks this week, and you can even become a patron member, which will give you the power to vote for your favorite artworks. And on that note, thank you to our patrons who help support the channel. This is Joy Girl, and I'll see you again soon.